Hello there, and welcome back to the Sleepy Star Wars channel. I'm grateful you've chosen to rest among these stars tonight. Here, in this quiet corner of the galaxy, the noise of the day begins to fade, like a distant ship slipping into hyperspace, leaving only stillness and the soft hum of the Force. Tonight, our journey follows an ancient path, a path carved not by heroes, but by those who walked in shadow. For thousands of years, the Sith shaped the galaxy from the depths of secrecy, through wars that shook stars, and through whispered rituals older than the Republic itself. Their history is vast, winding, and filled with the echoes of ambition, passion, and power. But here, in this peaceful moment, their darkness becomes something softer, a quiet chronicle of forgotten empires, lost temples, and legends buried beneath red sands and endless night. You don't need to remember any of it. Just let the story wash over you like the slow tide of starlight drifting across a silent world. Let your shoulders loosen. Let your breath become gentle. And let your thoughts float like dust motes in the sunbeams of a long-abandoned Sith tomb. Because tonight, we're not exploring darkness to be afraid of it. We're exploring it to understand its place in the balance of the Force, and to fall asleep wrapped in the comfort of a galaxy older and wider than any worry you carry. Now, close your eyes, sink deeper into the quiet of your own surroundings, and prepare to journey across thousands of years of Sith history, from their ancient beginnings to their final stand in the shadows of Exegol. And may the Force, even in its darker echoes, guide you gently into dreams. 1. Before the darkness had a name, long before the word Sith was ever spoken, the galaxy whispered with the earliest hints of the dark side. On remote worlds, where the Force flowed wild and untamed, ancient mystics watched storms gather over mountains and felt something powerful stirring beneath the quiet of creation. These early seekers were not evil, only curious, drawn toward the deeper, heavier currents of the Force that pulsed like a distant drum. They believed that passion could open doors serenity never would, and in their meditations, they touched secrets that glowed like embers in the void. In those distant ages, there were no empires, no wars, only wonder. And from that wonder, a darker path slowly began to unfurl. 2. The first whispers of power. As the millennia drifted onward, a few bold adepts began to follow the darker currents more deliberately. They felt strength and emotion, not as something to tame, but as a star to follow. Anger, longing, ambition. These became tools, like flowing streams that carved new shapes in the bedrock of the soul. Those early wanderers gathered in silent caves and forgotten forests, studying how the Force responded to their deepest desires. The galaxy did not yet know conflict born from this philosophy. Instead, it knew quiet experiments in the soft glow of newfound power. Their discoveries were subtle at first. A stone lifted, a mind touched, a feeling intensified. But in those subtle shifts, the dark side grew confident, and the first real shadows began to gather. 3. The birth of the dark side path. In time, these Force adepts realized that their passion-driven practices formed a completely new way of understanding the galaxy. They began recording their insights on early holocrons, glowing crystalline memory devices that hummed with knowledge. Through them, a philosophy emerged, one that celebrated striving, yearning, and the fierce belief that power was a birthright. This was not yet the Sith code, but the foundation upon which it would one day rest. Their teachings spread quietly among wanderers and scholars, carried from world to world like gentle sparks seeking kindling. The Jedi tradition would eventually rise in answer to this path, choosing another way. But for now, both lights glowed softly in the cosmic dawn, and from this flicker of difference, a 1,000-year divergence slowly took shape. 4. Ajunta Pall's fall. Long before his name echoed through ancient tombs, Ajunta Pall was a respected Jedi, a seeker of truth and a master of forbidden arts. He believed the Force held deeper mysteries than the Order was willing to explore, and his curiosity glowed like a candle in the dark. But candles can cast shadows. As he experimented with powers beyond the Jedi's teachings, he felt the dark side respond with a warmth that was both comforting and intoxicating. When the Jedi denounced his studies, Ajunta felt something break, a quiet fracture that let anger slip through. It was in this moment, fragile and fateful, that he stepped onto the path that would one day define the Sith. And the galaxy exhaled, sensing change. 5. The Exile's Descent. After the Great Schism, Ajunta Pall and the followers who shared his devotion to forbidden knowledge were cast out of the Jedi Order. They drifted into the depths of space, their ships gliding through star fields like fallen dreams searching for a home. The exile was harsh, but it also gave them freedom. No more judgment, no more restraint, only the vast emptiness where their passion could grow unchecked. In the silence between systems, they forged themselves anew, shedding the ideals they once held dear. Their hearts, wounded but determined, began to embrace the power that waited in the shadows. With each passing day, they drifted further from the light and closer to destiny. And in that drifting, something ancient began to call. 6. Arrival on Korriban. The exiles finally heard their call answered on a remote, harsh world of red sands and endless dusk. Korriban. The planet felt alive with dark energy, humming softly beneath the surface like a slumbering beast. There, they encountered the native Sith species, tall, red-skinned beings who wielded their own primal connection to the Force. The exiles were seen as gods, fallen from the stars with power beyond comprehension. And in this strange reverence, the Dark Jedi felt a sense of purpose they had never known. Korriban embraced them, and they embraced its shadows in return. Among its canyons and crimson tombs, a new empire quietly stirred, and with its first breath, the Sith were truly born. 7. The Sith species submission. When the Dark Jedi settled upon Korriban, the native Sith species beheld them with awe. These newcomers wielded the Force with a precision and power that felt almost divine. In their culture, strength was sacred, and the exiles radiated it like stars burning through the dusk. The Sith bowed not out of fear, but reverence, believing these pale visitors to be prophesied rulers. Over time, both groups blended, their bloodlines intertwining, their beliefs weaving into one shadowed tapestry. The Dark Jedi found comfort in this acceptance, and the native Sith found purpose in serving beings who embodied their ancient legends. Thus began a union of ambition and worship, forming the earliest foundation of Sith supremacy. And in that union, the shadows deepened. 8. The rise of the first Sith Lords. With their newfound dominion, the exiles began shaping a hierarchy rooted in power, passion, and relentless will. They crowned themselves Lords of the Sith, rulers whose authority flowed from the dark side itself. Each lord carved their own domain into the red stone of Korriban, constructing temples and sanctuaries that resonated with ancient magic. These first Sith were not yet bound by the strict codes of later eras. Instead, they were explorers of darkness, testing the limits of their union with the Force. Their reign was marked by ceremony, bloodline, and the belief that strength was the natural order of existence. From these early rulers, a dynasty of shadows began to rise, one that would echo for millennia, and far beyond Korriban, the galaxy slept, unaware. 9. The Code of the Sith. During the early formation of their empire, the Sith began articulating a philosophy that captured the heart of their new identity. It was a code not of restraint, but of liberation, a declaration that emotion, desire, and ambition were sacred paths to true power. Peace is a lie. The first words whispered through torchlit halls, echoing like a mantra carved into stone. To the Sith, serenity was stagnation, passion was evolution. Their code promised strength through struggle, power through victory, and ultimately, freedom through the mastery of the self. Recited across temples and battlefields alike, it became the pulse of the Sith spirit. And with every whispered verse, their dark empire drew breath. 10. The forging of the first dark artifacts. As the early Sith lords explored the deepest chambers of their new power, they began crafting artifacts infused with the dark side itself. In workshops lit by flickering crimson flames, they shaped talismans, blades, and ritual stones that pulsed softly with malignant energy. These objects were not mere tools. They were conduits, crystallizing emotions like fear, rage, and hunger into physical form. A Sith warrior might carry an amulet that sharpened his senses, or a sorcerer might wield a staff that whispered forgotten spells. Over time, these relics gained stories of their own, outlasting their makers and lingering through centuries like silent watchers. Each one carried the echo of its creator's will, and in that echo, the Sith legacy took root. 11. Founding of the Sith Empire. With power consolidated and their rule uncontested, the Sith Lords proclaimed the birth of the Sith Empire, an order built on passion, strength, and unwavering control. Across Korriban's red plains, banners billowed like dark wings rising into the wind. Massive stone temples crowned the horizon, carved with symbols that honored power above all. For the first time, the Sith became more than an exiled sect. They became a people, a nation, a rising empire bound by a shared creed. There was a sense of pride in their unity, a belief that destiny favored those bold enough to seize it. As the empire spread across neighboring worlds, the galaxy began to sense a tremor in the Force, a quiet warning of what was to come. 12. Korriban's Black Temples. At the heart of this growing empire stood the Black Temples of Korriban, towering monuments built from obsidian stone and lit by eternal flame. Within their shadowed corridors, the air felt heavy, as though the dark side thickened it like mist. Tombs lined the deeper chambers, each a resting place for a Sith Lord whose life and power shaped the fate of their people. Though silent, the halls hummed softly, as if ancient spirits murmured just beyond hearing. The architecture was both beautiful and foreboding, combining harsh angles with flowing symbols that depicted the cycles of passion and power. Many who entered felt the weight of countless generations watching them, and in that stillness, the spirit of the Sith endured. 13. Ziost, the Frozen Throne. Beyond the burning deserts of Korriban, the Sith expanded to a world wrapped in perpetual winter. Ziost. Its forests were cold and silent, its mountains jagged like the teeth of an ancient beast. Yet beneath this bleak exterior, the dark side pulsed quietly, saturating the land with a chilling serenity. The Sith chose Ziost as their second capital, carving fortresses from black stone that glimmered faintly under pale skies. Scholars, sorcerers, and rulers walked its frozen paths, feeling the planet sharpen their emotions like blades of ice. Ziost was not warm or welcoming, but it whispered clarity to those who embraced the shadow. In its frigid stillness, the Sith found focus, and their growing empire gained a colder, more deliberate heart. 14. Sith Alchemy Awakens. Among the earliest arts mastered by the Sith was alchemy, an ancient practice that reshaped life through the will of the dark side. In hidden chambers beneath their temples, alchemists mixed ritual, science, and sorcery to transform creatures into warriors of terrible strength. Muscles thickened, senses sharpened, and loyalty was etched into bone. The process was as mesmerizing as it was fearsome. Glowing runes, chanting voices, and energies twisting like smoke around living forms. For the Sith, alchemy was a testament to their belief that power should never remain limited by nature. They sought to mold life itself into a reflection of their desires, and from their experiments, new legends emerged, beings crafted to serve the dark. 15. The Massassi Warriors. One of the greatest creations of Sith alchemy was the Massassi, towering red-skinned warriors bred for strength, endurance, and absolute loyalty. Their footsteps echoed like thunder within temple corridors, and their golden eyes gleamed with both ferocity and devotion. The Massassi became the guardians of Sith lords, standing watch over tombs, relics, and sacred chambers. Though fearsome in appearance, their purpose was deeply spiritual. They were living embodiments of Sith will made manifest. They marched in ritual processions across Korriban's canyons, their chants resonating through the Force like distant drums. And wherever the Sith Empire extended its shadow, the Massassi walked silently at its edge, a reminder that strength was more than power. It was legacy carved into living form. 16. Sith magics and sorcery. Deep within the hidden chambers of their temples, the early Sith cultivated an art even more mysterious than alchemy: sorcery. It was a practice woven from ancient chants, precise gestures, and an unbroken focus on the darker currents of the Force. These rituals could bend minds, alter perception, or summon storms that crackled with crimson lightning. To the untrained, Sith sorcery felt like chaos, but to its practitioners, it was as delicate as threading light through crystal. The air around them shimmered with power, as if reality itself hesitated when they called upon it. And in those flickering moments between will and wonder, the Sith learned how deeply the Force could be shaped by desire, and how easily the galaxy could tremble before a whisper. 17. The Rule of the Dark Lords. As centuries drifted by like dust through the tomb-lit air of Korriban, the Sith settled into a tradition of choosing a single Dark Lord to rule over all. This figure stood as the embodiment of Sith ideals: strength, ambition, and dominance. Yet leadership was never peaceful. It was earned through conflict, cunning, and mastery of the dark side. The Dark Lord commanded entire legions, advised by powerful nobles who vied for influence in shadowed halls. Every throne room, every council chamber hummed with tension, as though the stones themselves sensed the weight of ambition pressing against them. But to the Sith, this constant struggle was not a flaw. It was the fuel that kept their empire sharp. And in the echoes of every coronation, another challenger quietly prepared. 18. The Dark Council's origins. While the Dark Lord remained supreme, the scope of the growing Sith Empire soon required more voices to direct its affairs. Thus emerged the Dark Council, a circle of masters who each governed a domain of Sith knowledge, war, sorcery, or political influence. They met in vaulted chambers lit by red torches, their cloaked silhouettes forming a crescent around the throne. Decisions were made not through harmony, but through delicate balances of fear and respect, each member measuring the will of the others like duelists tracing invisible lines in the air. Though united only by purpose, their combined influence shaped empires and armies alike. And with every council meeting, the web of Sith power grew thicker, stretching its shadows farther across the stars. 19. Ancient Sith Wars. As the Sith Empire expanded, ambitions inevitably collided. World after world fell beneath the crimson banners, and with each conquest, rival lords sharpened their hunger for dominance. These early Sith Wars were not just battles of armies, but of philosophies. Contests of willpower where sorcery clashed with steel, and the Force crackled through the air like distant thunder. Yet even amid conflict, the Sith found a strange serenity. To them, struggle was the natural shape of life, a reflection of passion made manifest. The deserts of Korriban and the icy plains of Zeost echoed with the footsteps of warriors marching under twin moons. And when the dust settled after each war, new rulers rose, old ones faded, and the ancient cycle of power continued its steady, shadowed rhythm. 20. The Shadowed Golden Age. Despite the upheaval, there came a long era the Sith remembered as their Golden Age, though darkness, not light, defined it. Across their territory, temples towered higher, rituals grew more refined, and the Dark Lords perfected their understanding of the Force's darker tides. Cities gleamed under red suns, built with a precision that blended artistry with cruelty. The Sith were no longer scattered exiles or warring tribes. They were an empire of purpose, determined to carve their will onto the galaxy. For generations, they thrived in relative isolation, unseen by the Republic and unchallenged by the Jedi. It was a calm before history's storm, a deep inhale in the Force, quiet and heavy, waiting for destiny to stir the stars. 21. Marked by hyperspace accident. The stillness of their age ended with a single, unexpected moment. A hyperspace miscalculation by two Republic explorers. Their ship veered off its intended route and emerged near Korriban, where the tombs glowed faintly beneath the crimson horizon. To the Sith, the arrival felt like fate, a doorway flung open by the galaxy itself. The visitors were captured, questioned, and ultimately used as a bridge to learn about the Republic's unsuspecting worlds. What began as an accident became a spark, illuminating a path the Sith had long awaited. And in that quiet misunderstanding of navigation and destiny, the first seeds of the great hyperspace war were planted, their shadows stretching forward toward a galaxy unprepared for what was coming. 22. Naga Sado's ambition. From the moment the Republic explorers arrived, a rising Sith Lord named Naga Sado sensed an opportunity woven through the Force like a faint, irresistible melody. He believed the Sith were destined to conquer the stars beyond their isolated empire, and the appearance of these outsiders felt like a sign, a whisper of destiny carried on hyperspace winds. Sado spun stories of imminent Republic invasion, stirring fear and unity among the Sith. His charisma glowed as fiercely as his hunger for power, drawing followers like moths to a dark flame. And in chambers lit by crimson crystals, he shaped plans bold enough to reshape the galaxy. For Sado dreamed not just of battle, but of an empire reborn in fire and ambition. 23. The Fall of Korriban. When the Great Hyperspace War erupted, the Sith Empire surged forward with terrifying force. Sato's fleets blazed across the stars, their engines roaring like storms as they challenged the Republic for the first time. But ambition often reaches farther than fate allows. As the conflict unfolded, alliances shattered, and rival Sith Lords rose against Sato, weakening their once mighty offensive. In the chaos, Korriban, Cradle of the Sith, became a battlefield, its sacred tombs echoing with the clash of blasters and ancient blades. Fire washed across the red sands, and ancient statues toppled before the violence of war. When the smoke finally thinned, the once great heart of the Sith Empire lay in ruins, and its people scattered like embers in a cold wind. 24. The Republic's first victory. In the final, decisive clash, the Republic drove the broken Sith forces back toward the edges of the galaxy. Their victory was not triumphant, but somber, for they had glimpsed the full fury of a dark power they barely understood. Jedi, who walked the scorched remains of Korriban, felt a lingering weight in the air, as though the Force itself whispered warnings from the toppled tombs. Yet the Republic believed the threat had ended. They saw an empire in ashes and assumed its shadow had faded. But the Sith are not so easily extinguished. For even in defeat, seeds of survival remained hidden in distant corners of the cosmos, quiet, patient, waiting for a new dawn of darkness. 25. Survivors in the void. When the Great Hyperspace War finally dimmed, only scattered remnants of the Sith remained. Their fleets had been shattered, their temples burned, and their empire reduced to whispers carried by drifting debris. Yet even in ruin, the Sith endured. Small groups of survivors slipped into the uncharted reaches of space, their ships gliding silently through the void like wounded spirits searching for refuge. They carried with them fragments of their ancient teachings, cradled like embers against the cold. In forgotten sectors and shadowed moons, these exiles hid from the Republic's watchful eyes, tending their pain and plotting rebirth in the distant dark. And so, though their empire had fallen, the Sith themselves did not vanish. They simply curled into the night, waiting to rise again. 26. Naga Sato on Yavin 4. Among the scattered survivors, Naga Sato fled farther than most, all the way to the lush, quiet moon of Yavin 4. There, beneath towering Massassi-built temples, he entered a long, deep slumber, sustained by ancient sorcery. The jungle canopy whispered above him for centuries, vines creeping over stone, while wildlife moved softly through ruins shaped by his influence. The moon became a living monument to his ambition, its humid air thick with echoes of forgotten rituals. Though he slept, his presence lingered, casting a faint shadow across the Force like a memory refusing to fade. And in that patient stillness, Yavin 4 held its breath, harboring an ember of Sith power long after the galaxy believed it had died. 27. Sato's legacy. Even in his slumber, Naga Sato's legacy endured. Artifacts he crafted remained hidden in the temple depths. Blades humming with dormant power, holocrons filled with secret lore, and chambers carved with symbols only the bravest dare interpret. Explorers in later centuries would stumble upon these relics, feeling an inexplicable chill as they stood before the remnants of an age long faded. To some, Sato's teachings were cautionary tales. To others, they were invitations. His legacy became a quiet ripple in the Force, reaching through time to touch the minds of seekers who walked too close to destiny. And somewhere in those vine-covered ruins, the dark side waited patiently, ready to whisper once more to those willing to listen. 28. The rise of Freeden Nad. Centuries after the Sith Empire's fall, the dark side found a new vessel in a young Jedi named Freeden Nad. Gifted, curious, and restless, he sensed that the Jedi teachings did not hold all the answers the galaxy had to offer. Whispers of forbidden knowledge tugged at him like a quiet pulse beneath his thoughts. Drawn by these unseen currents, he traveled far beyond known space until he discovered the forgotten remnants of ancient Sith lore. There, the spirit of Naga Sato guided him, weaving promises of power and destiny through the Force. Freeden Nad surrendered to the shadow with both eagerness and awe, and from that surrender, a new chapter of Sith influence unfolded, softly at first, like a sigh in the distant dark. 29. Dark Echoes on Onderon. Freeden Nad eventually settled on Onderon, a world of dense jungles and fierce beasts that roamed its moonlit nights. The planet's harshness matched the turmoil in his heart, and the people, struggling against nature's relentless force, were easily swayed by his strength. Nad became their ruler, cloaking Onderon in a shadow that seeped into its culture and beliefs. Temples rose under his command, echoing the architecture of ancient Sith worlds, and his teachings shaped generations. Even after his death, his spirit lingered, whispering to kings and warriors from the depths of his tomb. Onderon became a cradle of dark influence, a world forever marked by Nad's presence. Its nights carrying the soft murmur of Sith power through rustling leaves. 30. The Seeds of Future Darkness. Though the galaxy believed the Sith extinct, quiet pockets of dark knowledge survived, nurtured by cults and secret followers. These hidden groups preserved fragments of Sith philosophy, chants remembered in dim catacombs, relics locked away in forgotten ruins, and stories carried in hushed voices around flickering fires. The darkness did not roar. It only breathed, calm and patient, waiting for the right heart to hear its rhythm. Through these secretive caretakers, Sith teachings endured the centuries, subtle yet persistent, like roots spreading beneath the soil. And as they tended these ancient embers, the galaxy drifted unaware, never suspecting that these small sparks would one day ignite the return of a far greater shadow. 31. Exar Kun's Temptation. Many centuries after Freeden Nad's reign, another gifted Jedi found himself drawn toward the darker edges of the Force. Exar Kun was brilliant, confident, and hungry for mastery, traits that often shimmer with promise before slipping into shadow. Though trained in the ways of the Jedi, he questioned their limits, sensing power beyond the gentle paths they encouraged. That curiosity led him to ancient records, then to forbidden ruins, and finally to Onderon, where the lingering spirit of Freeden Nad awaited. Nad whispered to him as softly as a breeze through broken stone, offering knowledge older than the Republic itself. In that quiet exchange, Kun's fate changed direction, the first subtle step of a long fall into darkness. 32. The War of Kun and Ulic Qel-Droma. Exar Kun's descent ignited a chain of events that pulled an entire era into shadow. Through manipulation and sorcery, he drew the respected Jedi Ulic Qel-Droma into his orbit, twisting brotherhood into rivalry and loyalty into regret. Together, they unleashed a war that swept across star systems, temples burning, fleets scattering like sparks across the night sky. Yet beneath the violence lay tragedy. Two men once devoted to peace, caught in currents far older and stronger than themselves. Kun's hunger grew insatiable, while Ulic became a prisoner of his own choices. Their war was not just a conflict of armies, but of hearts struggling against the weight of destiny. And as the battles raged, the galaxy felt the dark side swell like a rising tide. 33. Fall of the Great Jedi Library. One of the most heartbreaking moments of this era came when Exar Kun directed his forces toward Ossus, home of the Great Jedi Library, a sanctuary of wisdom preserved for thousands of years. The attack was swift and devastating. Scrolls, holocrons, and artifacts, treasures of knowledge meant to guide future generations, were consumed by fire and shattered under the force of ancient weapons. Jedi raced to save what they could, but the roar of destruction drowned their efforts. The loss rippled through the Jedi Order like a silent scream, leaving a wound that time could never fully heal. Amid the smoldering ruins, the light of learning flickered, and another shadow stretched long across the galaxy. 34. Spirit of the Sith. After the fall of Ossus and the collapse of Exar Kun's ambitions, his physical presence was erased, but not his influence. Seeking to escape defeat, Kun bound his spirit to a vast temple on Yavin 4, pouring the last of his strength into a ritual that left his body behind. His essence lingered like a cold breeze swirling through abandoned halls, whispering to those who wandered too close. Though centuries would pass, his presence never fully faded. It watched, waited, and stirred when touched by curious minds. In this state, Kun became something both less and more than a Sith Lord, a memory sharpened into a blade, a voice etched into the dark side's quiet currents. And through this spectral persistence, his shadow stretched far beyond his lifetime, reminding the galaxy that the Sith never truly sleep. 35. The Mandalorian Wars begin. In the centuries that followed, the galaxy drifted into a new era of conflict. The Mandalorians, fierce warriors shaped by battle and tradition, began expanding their reach with relentless ambition. When they struck against the Republic, their assault echoed across countless systems like thunder rolling through distant valleys. The Jedi hesitated, torn between intervention and restraint, for war was a path they wished never to tread lightly. Yet among them rose Revan and Malak, brilliant and charismatic leaders who could not ignore the suffering they witnessed. Their decision to join the fight would change everything. For in stepping onto the battlefield, they stepped into a crucible, one the dark side had been preparing for generations. 36. Revan's turn. As the Mandalorian Wars spiraled into chaos, Revan led the Republic's forces with unmatched brilliance. But victory carried a cost. In pursuit of the Mandalorian leaders, he discovered ancient Sith secrets buried in the unknown regions, remnants of the old empire, whispers of teachings long thought lost. The dark side called to him like an echo from a buried memory, weaving its influence into his thoughts, reshaping purpose into destiny. When Revan returned, he was no longer the same Jedi who had left. Determination hardened into ideology, hope reforged into ambition. He donned the mantle of Sith Lord, with Malak at his side, ready to carve a new empire from the ashes of war. And in this transformation, the galaxy felt the dark side stir once more, awakening an ancient hunger that had lain quiet for too long. 37. Malak's cruel ascendancy. When Revan rose as a Sith Lord, his apprentice Malak followed close behind, burning with a fierce, untempered ambition. Malak lacked Revan's subtlety. Where Revan calculated, Malak consumed. The war-torn galaxy became his proving ground, each conquered world a testament to his growing power. But darkness rarely shares its throne. In the void between battles, Malak began to resent the shadow Revan cast over him, longing not just to serve, but to command. That hunger eventually drove him to betrayal. A single strike meant to remove his master forever. Though Revan survived, the deed revealed the depth of Malak's fall. And as he claimed the title of Dark Lord, the galaxy shuddered beneath the weight of a new, merciless ruler. 38. The Star Forge ignites. At the heart of Malak's brutal campaign lay the Star Forge, an ancient, colossal factory birthed from the dark side itself. Suspended above a boiling star, it pulsed with a sinister rhythm, as though alive and listening. The forge fed on emotion, on chaos, on the very conflict Malak spread through the galaxy. Its endless production of ships and droids became a tide the Republic struggled to withstand, each vessel stamped with the silent signature of ancient Sith sorcery. Yet the Star Forge was more than a weapon. It was a reflection of the darkness that fueled it, a mirror of every fear and fury swirling within its master. And as it blazed in orbit, the stars around it dimmed, as if bowing to a machine older than light itself. 39. Triumph and collapse. Malak's reign, though fierce, was destined to crumble. When Revan returned, stripped of his memories, yet slowly rediscovering his path, the balance of destiny shifted. Their final confrontation rippled across the Force like a storm breaking open the night. Revan, no longer driven by conquest, fought with the clarity of redemption, while Malak clung desperately to the empire he had built upon fear. In the end, the Star Forge fell, collapsing in flames and shuddering metal. Malak's power evaporated with it, leaving the galaxy to exhale at last. Yet from the ruins of this conflict, another shadow continued to live unseen. A hidden Sith Emperor waiting far beyond known space, patient as the dark between stars. 40. The Unknown Emperor. While the galaxy focused on Revan, Malak, and the ruins of the Star Forge, a far older darkness watched from the edges of known space. This was the Sith Emperor, a being once called Tenebrae, who had shed his birth name long before Revan ever ignited his first blade. Hidden in the unknown regions, he had woven an empire of silence, a realm untouched by the Republic, unseen by the Jedi, and guided by his will alone. His power was immense, an ocean of shadow so deep that even Revan, in all his brilliance, barely sensed it. The Emperor moved through history like a whisper beneath the floorboards of time, and though he remained unseen, his influence began to coil slowly toward the galaxy, reaching like a cold hand through hyperspace. 41. Vitiate's grasp. In secret, the Emperor, now known as Vitiate, shaped his Sith followers with precision and purpose. He was not driven by passion, as many Sith before him had been. Instead, he embodied an unsettling calm, a frozen hunger that sought eternity rather than dominion. Through ancient rituals, he drew strength from worlds themselves, bending planets to his will like pieces on a cosmic board. His presence was felt most strongly in the Force, a deep void, a silence that swallowed sound and light. Those who stood before him often described a sensation of being pulled into a vast emptiness, as though their thoughts were drifting into a night without stars. And within that void, Vitiate planned for an empire not just of space, but of forever. 42. The Ritual on Nathema. One of the darkest moments in Sith history unfolded on the quiet world of Nathema. Once a place of serene landscapes and gentle winds, it became the site of a ritual so immense that reality itself seemed to recoil. Vitiate gathered the Sith lords of his time, promising them a right of immeasurable power. But when the ritual began, he consumed them and the entire planet in a wave of draining energy. Every living thing, every whisper of the Force, every warmth of life was extinguished in a single, echoing instant. The world became a hollow shell, a place where the Force no longer breathed. Nathema's silence stood as a wound in the galaxy, and a testament to the Emperor's boundless hunger. 43. 1,000 years of planning. After consuming Nathema and shedding all remnants of mortality, the Sith Emperor vanished into the dark folds of the unknown regions. There, unseen by the Republic and forgotten by the surviving Sith, he constructed a hidden empire that grew slowly, silently, like frost spreading across a window pane. Over centuries, he cultivated followers with unyielding loyalty, molding them not through passion, but through fear and the cold promise of unending power. Entire generations served him without ever witnessing his true form. His plans stretched not across years, but across millennia, a slow-moving storm gathering weight in the void. And while the galaxy basked in relative peace, his quiet machinery of darkness continued turning, each rotation bringing the shadow closer to the light. 44. Revan's captivity. Seeking to confront the Emperor and prevent his return, Revan journeyed deep into the unknown regions, only to be captured by the very presence he hoped to stop. The Emperor imprisoned him in a chamber steeped in dark stillness, a place where time felt heavy and dreams drifted like forgotten echoes. Bound by the Force and held in a trance-like state, Revan existed in a fog between awareness and oblivion. Yet even in captivity, he remained a flickering beacon of resistance. His thoughts tugged at destiny, subtly shaping events beyond those cold walls. Over the decades, his presence influenced both Jedi and Sith, who felt his lingering strength. And through that faint, unwavering spark, the Force reminded the galaxy that light and dark forever circle each other, even in the deepest shadows. 45. The Cold War in the shadows. Eventually, the Emperor's secret empire stepped out of hiding, striking the Republic with a precision that echoed across the stars. The resulting conflict was devastating, but ended in a fragile treaty, a tense pause that settled over the galaxy like frost on quiet plains. Both sides nursed their wounds, rebuilding fleets and gathering intelligence beneath the veneer of peace. It was a war fought not with open battles, but with whispers, spies moving through crowded streets, assassins passing like shadows through moonlit corridors, and diplomats trying to stitch together hope where none firmly existed. This uneasy stillness became known as the Cold War, a fragile balance between two vast powers, each waiting for the moment the other would blink and plunge the galaxy back into darkness. 46. The Second Great Galactic War. When the Cold War finally cracked, it did so not with a shout, but with a slow unfurling of tension that had been gathering for years. Skirmishes flared along the borders like sparks catching dry grass, each encounter pulling both factions deeper into a conflict neither could avoid. Worlds of ice, fire, and drifting sky cities became battlegrounds once more. Fleets glided through the void like silent predators, their turbo lasers breaking the stillness with brief flashes of crimson. Knights of the Jedi Order and warriors of the Sith Empire crossed blades in duels that echoed across forgotten ruins and misty forests. Yet even amid the clash of armies, the war carried a lonely quiet, the kind that hums just beneath chaos. And as both sides marched on, the galaxy held its breath, bracing for the storm to fully unfurl. 47. Rise of the Wrath. Among the Emperor's most formidable creations was his personal enforcer, known only as the Wrath. This warrior moved like a shadow given form, silent, precise, and utterly unwavering in purpose. Unlike many Sith, the wrath was not driven by ambition. Instead, they embodied obedience sharpened into a weapon. Their presence inspired fear even among the Empire's elite, for they acted as the Emperor's will incarnate, carrying out judgments that altered the political tides with a single, decisive strike. Worlds trembled at their arrival, and even mighty lords lowered their gaze. Yet beneath the armor and the cold mask of duty was a soul bound tightly to destiny, one whose path would eventually diverge from the Emperor who shaped it. 48. The Emperor's descent into madness. As centuries passed, the Sith Emperor's mind began to splinter beneath the weight of his immeasurable power. His hunger grew insatiable, no longer content with ruling an empire or even outlasting death. He yearned to consume all life in the galaxy, to bind every whisper of the Force to himself in a single catastrophic ritual. What had once been cold ambition decayed into a restless, echoing madness. His followers felt the shift, subtle at first, like the unease before a storm, then unmistakable as his commands grew darker and more desperate. Even the Sith, long accustomed to living under the shadow of tyrants, began to fear the abyss forming at the heart of their empire. And in that unraveling, the galaxy sensed that a reckoning was drawing near, a moment when destiny would finally respond to centuries of gathering darkness. 49. The end of the immortal Emperor. At last, after centuries of manipulation, devastation, and shadowed ambition, the Sith Emperor's long reign met its breaking point. Heroes from both the Republic and the Sith Empire rose against him. Unlikely allies drawn together by the shared realization that no galaxy could survive the storm he intended to unleash. Their final battles unfolded across worlds heavy with history, where ancient temples groaned under the echo of unleashed power. When the Emperor finally fell, it was not with a scream, but with a quiet collapse into the Force, like a candle whose flame simply flickered out. In that moment, the galaxy felt an immense weight lift, as though a darkness older than memory had finally exhaled. But though one Emperor had perished, the shadow of the Sith was far from gone. 50. The Empire's quiet embers. After the Emperor's defeat, the once mighty Sith Empire fractured into drifting embers. Some warlords retreated to distant worlds, holding on to scraps of authority like fragments of a broken crown. Others sought new paths in secret enclaves, whispering old doctrines to restore what had been lost. Within grand citadels now dimmed by dust and silence, archives flickered with fading holocrons, their messages repeating to empty halls. Yet even in this era of disarray, the dark side persisted. It lingered like smoke in the ruins, carried in the hearts of those who survived. For the Sith have always been resilient, their power rising and falling like a tide, retreating only to gather strength once more in the depths of night. 51. Bane's revelation. Amid the ashes of the scattered Sith, one figure emerged whose insight would reshape their future forever. Darth Bane. Studying the failures of countless Sith wars, he realized that their endless infighting had doomed them time and again. The Sith's hunger for dominance, though powerful, was also their greatest weakness. In meditative stillness, Bane crafted a new philosophy, the rule of two. One master, one apprentice, one to hold power, one to crave it. This simple, elegant doctrine promised survival through secrecy, patience, and the careful passing of knowledge from generation to generation. Under starlit skies, Bane felt the Force tighten around this revelation like a silent accord, and the Sith's future shifted toward a quieter, more deliberate darkness. 52. Holocron of Darth Revan. As Darth Bane refined his vision for the future of the Sith, he sought wisdom from those who had walked the shadowed path before him. Among the most powerful was the holocron of Darth Revan, a crystalline relic that shimmered like frozen fire in the dim light of forgotten tombs. When activated, Revan's spectral form appeared, calm and enigmatic, sharing insights shaped by a lifetime woven between light and dark. His teachings spoke of discipline, patience, and the inevitability of cycles within the Force. Bane listened, absorbing each lesson with reverence. The holocron did not tell him what to do, but it showed him what not to repeat. And in those whispered lessons, the foundations of the rule of two deepened, anchoring themselves in wisdom born from ancient mistakes. 53. Extinction of the Brotherhood. To bring his new Sith philosophy into reality, Bane first had to remove the old one. The Brotherhood of Darkness, a vast, chaotic order of Sith, was too fractured, too prideful, too noisy to survive. With cold clarity, Bane orchestrated their end. Using the Jedi's own superweapon, the Thought Bomb, he lured both the Brotherhood and their enemies into a single, devastating confrontation. When the ritual detonated, it consumed every Force-sensitive caught within, their wills trapped forever in a swirling void. The battlefield fell silent, a crater etched into history by ambition and ruthlessness. From that silence, a new Sith age emerged, smaller in number, but sharper in purpose, like a single blade forged from shattered metal. 54. The new Sith Order. With the Brotherhood gone, Bane formed the true beginning of his new Sith lineage. He chose an apprentice, Darth Zana, a child whose potential flickered bright beneath her innocent exterior. Together, they vanished into the shadows of history, hiding, studying, and refining the dark side in secret. No longer did the Sith announce themselves with armies or empires. Instead, they moved quietly through the galaxy like patient storms forming beyond the horizon. Each generation honed its power in secrecy, passing knowledge from master to apprentice with the precision of artisans shaping a centuries-long masterpiece. And in this stillness, the Sith became more dangerous than ever. A quiet darkness preparing for the perfect moment to return. 55. Darth Zana's Darkness. Under Darth Bane's guidance, Zana blossomed into a Sith, unlike any before her. Where Bane embodied brute strength and relentless will, Zana moved with subtlety, weaving illusions and sorcery with a grace that felt almost ethereal. Her mastery of the dark side was quiet, refined, like a shadow slipping across polished stone. Through years of training, she embraced the Sith philosophy with a calm certainty, never rushing her path, never questioning the destiny unfolding before her. Her bond with Bane was powerful, built on equal parts fear, admiration, and inevitability. And as she grew in strength, the rule of two began its steady rhythm, a master preparing the apprentice who would one day surpass them as the Sith tradition of rebirth through destruction endured. 56. Masters and Assassins. Across the centuries that followed, the legacy of Bane and Zana continued through a lineage of Sith whose identities were carved in secrecy. Each master trained an apprentice, and each apprentice honed their power with the knowledge that survival required eventual triumph over their teacher. It was a dance of blades and minds, slow and deliberate, stretching across generations like a faint echo repeating through time. Some pairs moved like hunters, shifting through the galaxy as shadows draped in midnight cloaks. Others hid in plain sight, masquerading as nobles, scholars, or wanderers, while the dark side pulsed beneath their calm exteriors. Through subtle assassinations, political manipulations, and silent infiltrations, the Sith shaped events without ever revealing their hand, preparing the galaxy for a return no one anticipated. 57. The Masks of the Sith. To survive in a galaxy ruled by the Jedi, the Sith became artists of deception. They wore masks, some literal, some woven from titles, wealth, or false alliances. A Sith Lord might appear as a generous patron, a humble advisor, or a reclusive scholar whose eyes seemed too thoughtful, too knowing. Their disguises allowed them to travel among the unsuspecting, gathering information, influencing leaders, and steering the currents of fate with the gentlest touch. These masks became essential to the rule of two, protecting the lineage from extinction while granting them access to corridors of power. Behind every polite smile, every calm gesture, every respectful nod, there lurked the quiet pulse of the dark side, waiting patiently for its moment to strike. 58. Sith spirits in exile. Though the rule of two demanded secrecy and survival, echoes of the ancient Sith still lingered throughout the galaxy. In forgotten temples and tomb-choked worlds, spirits of long-dead Sith lords clung to existence like fading embers, resisting the night. Their presence was subtle, a whisper in the back of the mind, a chill brushing across forgotten corridors, a faint shimmer of red light flickering against stone. Some sought to corrupt the living, offering guidance wrapped in honeyed lies. Others simply watched, unable to let go of legacies carved in blood and ambition. For the living Sith, these spirits were both temptation and warning, fragments of an older age reminding them of the cost of unrestrained hunger. And in the quiet between heartbeats, the past reached toward the future, trying to shape destiny once more. 59. The Long Game. Under the rule of two, the Sith learned patience, a virtue their ancestors had rarely embraced. Instead of raising armies or building empires openly, they planted seeds of influence in the Republic's most subtle cracks. Whisper by whisper, they studied the Jedi, mapped political weaknesses, and nudged events with the gentlest of touches. Centuries passed in measured silence. Masters trained apprentices with a precision that bordered on ritual, refining their minds and shaping their wills like blades forged in slow-burning fire. The Sith no longer sought short-lived victories. They sought inevitability. They became the quiet tide beneath the galaxy, unseen, unstoppable, rising grain by grain, preparing for a single, perfect moment when the dam would break and darkness would return in full. 60. The Phantom Century. As the millennium before the Republic's fall unfolded, the Sith presence slipped deeper into myth. Jedi archives recorded them as extinct, their empires long crumbled into dust. Senators spoke of them as ancient villains, no more real than ghosts. Yet behind that veil of dismissal, the Sith lineage was thriving. They moved silently through the galaxy, manipulating leaders, influencing key decisions, and tightening their web around the Republic like silk spun by an unseen spider. Every choice, every conflict, every political tremor became a brushstroke in a masterpiece of deception. And as the Jedi basked in the illusion of peace, a shadow coiled slowly around their future, a phantom presence preparing to step into the light after 1,000 years of patient waiting. 61. Darth Plagueis the Wise. Long after the galaxy had forgotten the existence of the Sith, a new master emerged from the shadows. Darth Plagueis, a being of calm intellect and dangerous curiosity. Unlike many Sith before him, Plagueis sought not domination through armies or empires, but mastery over the very fabric of life. He studied the Force with a scientist's precision, peeling back its layers like petals of a dark, luminous flower. His meditations stretched into long, silent nights where starlight flickered across sterile chambers, illuminating the quiet stillness of a mind obsessed with immortality. Yet beneath his serene exterior lay a powerful ambition, one that pulsed like a heartbeat beneath the dark side's endless tide. And in his contemplative solitude, Plagueis began shaping a future only he could foresee. A future where death itself might bend before the will of a Sith. 62. Plagueis experiments. In hidden laboratories on remote moons, Plagueis conducted experiments that blurred the lines between sorcery and science. Strange equipment hummed softly in cold, dimly lit rooms, each device designed to probe the Force's connection to life and creation. He sought to influence midi-chlorians, the smallest threads of the Force within living beings, coaxing them into patterns that defied natural law. Sometimes he worked in silence, other times surrounded by quiet rumblings of energy that shimmered in the air like heat over distant dunes. His obsession consumed him, driving him deeper into isolation and deeper into the shadow. Yet his discoveries stirred the Force in ways even he did not fully understand. Ripples that would one day reach a desert world where a child of destiny would be born under twin suns. 63. Rise of Darth Sidious. While Plagueis sought mastery over life itself, his apprentice grew in a very different direction. Sheev Palpatine, who would become Darth Sidious, mastered the art of deception with a grace so flawless it felt almost gentle. To the galaxy, he appeared as a charming politician, soft-spoken and patient, his smile warm and unassuming. But beneath that polished exterior, the dark side thrived, coiled, calculating, and eager. Sidious studied Plagueis' teachings, absorbing every lesson while quietly nurturing ambitions far greater than those of his master. In dimly lit chambers, he whispered the Sith code as though it were a lullaby, each verse strengthening the resolve within his heart. And as the years drifted by, Sidious prepared to step into destiny, ready to reshape the galaxy with a single, devastating revelation of truth. 64. The Naboo conflict. The first visible ripple of the Sith's return emerged on a quiet, picturesque world. Naboo. Its rolling meadows and shimmering lakes hid no shadows of war, yet destiny, ever patient, chose this peaceful planet as the stage for the Sith's subtle reawakening. When blockades formed and tensions rose, few suspected the hand-guiding events from behind velvet curtains. Darth Sidious, cloaked beneath the identity of Senator Palpatine, nudged conflict into motion with a whisper here, a delay there, like a composer shaping a symphony only he could hear. The galaxy saw political turmoil. Sidious saw opportunity. And as Naboo drifted into crisis, the dark side stirred softly, like a gentle wind flowing through palace halls, an omen of the storm that would follow. 65. A galaxy tipping. From the Senate floors to distant trading routes, the influence of Darth Sidious began seeping quietly through the Republic. His plans were not rushed. They unfolded like the slow unfurling of night, each decision dimming the light a little more. Senators found themselves swayed by his calm confidence. Political factions shifted under his subtle pressure. Even the Jedi began to sense unrest, though they could not trace its source. Sidious cultivated chaos with elegance, inviting disorder into the galaxy just enough to make his solutions appear necessary. Every reform he suggested, every alliance he forged, was like a stone placed delicately into a flowing river, changing its course without breaking its surface. And the galaxy, unaware, drifted closer to the edge of a profound and orchestrated fall. 66. The Clone Army's birth. On the distant world of Camino, rain poured endlessly over towering spires where a secret project unfolded beneath silver skies. A clone army, obedient, efficient, and designed for rapid deployment, was commissioned under the name of a dead Jedi, lost to history's shadows. Few questioned its origin. Even fewer realized it had been orchestrated by Sidious, whose plans required an army perfectly suited for both war and betrayal. The Kaminoans worked with quiet precision, unaware of the role they played in shaping the galaxy's fate. And so, under the constant rhythm of falling rain, the soldiers of a future conflict were born, their destinies bound not to freedom or choice, but to a single command waiting like a seed planted in their minds, a seed known only as Order 66. 67. Darth Tyrannus's tragedy. Before the galaxy knew him as Count Dooku, Darth Tyrannus was a Jedi master of remarkable poise and clarity. Yet beneath his composed exterior, quiet doubts slowly gathered like clouds before a hidden storm. Disillusioned by corruption in the Republic and blind spots within the Jedi Order, he drifted toward isolation, listening to the subtle pull of the dark side. Sidious recognized his vulnerability and offered him purpose, a vision of order forged from controlled chaos. Dooku accepted, believing he could shape a better future, not realizing he was stepping into a carefully laid trap. As Darth Tyrannus, he became both apprentice and pawn, a bridge between war's beginning and its devastating climax. In his fall, the Sith gained a refined instrument, and the galaxy lost one more voice of reason to the shadows. 68. The Clone Wars unfold. Once unleashed, the Clone Wars swept across the galaxy like a tide lit by blaster fire and the glow of countless lightsabers. Worlds erupted into conflict, their skies streaked with starfighter trails and drifting embers. To the Jedi, the war felt like a duty, a burden they carried with weary resolve, yet they sensed something beneath the surface, a presence guiding events with an unseen hand. Meanwhile, Sidious and Tyrannus orchestrated both sides, pulling strings in perfect synchrony. Every victory and defeat, every treaty and ambush drove the Republic deeper into dependence on the very forces that would one day undo it. The war was loud, chaotic, and tragic. Yet beneath the thunder, the Sith's quiet design unfolded with chilling serenity. 69. Order 66. When the moment finally came, it arrived in a whisper. A single coded command transmitted through the veins of the clone army. Across battlefields, in jungles and star cruisers, on bridges and quiet outposts, clone troopers paused, listened, and obeyed. The Jedi, once generals and guardians, became targets in an instant. Lightsabers ignited too late, warnings sent seconds before the end. The Force trembled beneath the sudden loss, as if the galaxy exhaled in shock. Sidious, watching from the shadows of the Senate, felt the culmination of centuries settle gently into place. Order 66 was swift, efficient, and devastating. Not a roar of darkness, but a quiet, merciless stroke of destiny. A single moment that reshaped the galaxy's future forever. 70. The Rise of the Empire. In the quiet aftermath of Order 66, as the Jedi fell and worlds trembled in confusion, Chancellor Palpatine stepped before the Senate with a mask of sorrow and resolve. With practiced grace, He spoke of safety, unity, and the need for strong leadership in uncertain times. His voice, calm and unwavering, echoed through the grand chamber like a somber lullaby. And with thunderous applause from fearful senators, the Republic, the galaxy's ancient beacon of democracy, transformed into the Galactic Empire. Cloaked beneath Vader's looming presence, Sidious cast aside pretense and embraced his true identity as Emperor. The galaxy shifted subtly, almost quietly, as if nightfall had finally settled after a millennium-long dusk. And in the stillness, the Sith emerged triumphant, their plan at last complete. 71. Birth of the Enforcer. Among the ashes of the Jedi Order stood a single broken figure. Anakin Skywalker, once a hero, now consumed by the flames of Mustafar and the weight of his own choices. When Sidious found him, twisted by injury and regret, he wrapped the fallen Jedi in black armor and mechanical breath, forging Darth Vader. His new form became more than a prison. It became a symbol. The echo of his respirator hummed through star destroyers and shadowed hallways, a reminder of the Empire's merciless reach. Vader's presence alone silenced conversations, chilled hearts, and made entire systems bend the knee. He was the embodiment of fear, a single, unstoppable figure carrying the will of the Sith in every step he took. 72. The Purge continues. Though Order 66 had devastated the Jedi, a few survived. Scattered across distant worlds, hiding among civilians, or wandering the Outer Rim as ghosts of a forgotten era, the Empire crafted a new force to hunt them down: the Inquisitors. Under Vader's instruction, these dark side adepts moved through the galaxy with cold efficiency. They searched quiet villages, ancient ruins, neon-lit cities, and barren moons, following the faintest ripples in the Force. Each captured Jedi felt like another thread severed from a tapestry that had once held the galaxy together. And as Vader pursued the survivors with relentless focus, the galaxy grew quieter, its last sparks of hope dimming beneath the long shadow of the Sith. 73. The Fortress on Mustafar. On the scorched world of Mustafar, where lava rivers glowed like molten veins across a wounded landscape, Darth Vader built a fortress unlike any other. Rising in jagged black spires, the citadel stood as a monument to pain, rebirth, and unbroken will. The planet's fiery breath fed the dark side, filling the air with a constant hum of heat and anger. Inside, halls stretched like shadowed arteries, echoing with Vader's mechanical steps and the low rumble of ancient machines. This fortress wasn't merely a stronghold. It was a sanctuary, where Vader confronted the fragments of Anakin that lingered like ghosts in quiet corners of his mind. Each night, Mustafar's storms whispered through obsidian windows, reminding him that even in power, some wounds never truly cooled. 74. Vader's duality. Despite his imposing armor and relentless fury, Vader lived in a constant war within himself. The dark side filled him with strength. Yet somewhere deep beneath the metal and shadows, the faintest spark of Anakin's past survived. Memories surfaced in quiet moments: a child's laughter, the warmth of Tatooine's twin suns, the voice of someone he once loved. These echoes tugged at him like distant stars glimpsed through storm clouds. He pushed them away with the cold discipline of a Sith, yet they never vanished fully. This inner turbulence shaped his every action, a silent battle waged behind his mask. To the galaxy, Vader was an unyielding enforcer. But within his heart, two destinies coexisted, one forged by the light he abandoned, and one carved by the shadow he embraced. 75. Rise of the Rebellion. As the Empire tightened its grip, small sparks of defiance flickered into existence across distant worlds. Farmers, smugglers, senators, and soldiers gathered quietly in hidden bases and dusty outposts, whispering plans under starlit skies. Their voices were soft at first, little more than murmurs carried by uncertain hope. Yet with each act of bravery, resistance grew stronger. The Sith, cloaked in triumph, sensed the first tremors of rebellion, but underestimated the power of unity born from desperation. And so, while Vader and his Inquisitors hunted Jedi in the shadows, an entirely different fire was taking shape. One made not of sorcery or anger, but of courage flickering gently across the galaxy, a light preparing to rise against the darkness. 76. Encounters with former Jedi. Throughout the long years of the Empire, Vader crossed paths with those who remembered the man he once was. Some had fought beside Anakin in wars now buried beneath dust and silence. Others had taught him, guided him, or offered him friendship. When Vader met these former Jedi, the air often felt charged, as though the Force itself held its breath. Blades ignited with a flash of blue or green, met by the ominous hum of red. Yet beneath the clash, there was always something quieter, a fleeting recognition, a gentle echo of a life left behind. These confrontations were battles not only of strength, but of identity. Each encounter pulling at threads Vader tried desperately to sever, reminding him of the boy who once dreamed beneath Tatooine's twin suns. 77. The search for Kenobi. Among all the ghosts that lingered in Vader's past, none carried more weight than Obi-Wan Kenobi. Once master, friend, and brother, Kenobi had become a symbol of everything Vader sought to destroy within himself. Across the galaxy, Vader pursued whispers of Kenobi's presence, following rumors like distant stars shimmering on the edge of perception. Every lead brought a silent storm within him, a blend of fury, longing, and fragmented memory. To Vader, finding Kenobi was more than a hunt. It was a confrontation with the truth he feared most. For in Kenobi's calm voice and steady gaze, Anakin Skywalker lived on, a reminder of a path he could no longer walk, and a name he could no longer bear. 78. The Death Star's shadow. As the Empire solidified its rule, construction began on a station so vast it seemed to eclipse the stars themselves. The Death Star. Its steel corridors stretched endlessly, humming with power like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Stormtroopers marched through glowing hallways, and distant machinery pulsed with cold precision. To the galaxy, it was a symbol of terror. To the Sith, it represented perfect order enforced through overwhelming might. Vader walked its unfinished bridges like a silent warden, his cape trailing through beams of harsh white light. Yet even in its enormity, the station carried an unsettling stillness, a sense that beneath its armor of metal and fire, it cast a shadow long enough to swallow hope whole. And in that shadow, the Sith believed their dominance complete, never knowing how fragile such power truly was. 79. The Redemption Seed. Amid the cold machinery of the Death Star and the endless commands of the Emperor, a single unexpected light entered Vader's life: Luke Skywalker. The discovery of his son felt like a tremor in the Force, gentle yet undeniable, as if destiny had placed a warm ember into the palm of a man long frozen by regret. Luke's presence stirred memories Vader had spent years burying: a mother's touch, a lover's laugh, a mentor's smile, a friend's loyalty. Emotions he thought extinguished flickered faintly, glowing like sparks floating above Mustafar's lava beds. Luke represented possibility, not of power, but of forgiveness. And though Vader resisted this awakening with all the discipline of a Sith, the seed of redemption had already taken root, waiting patiently for its moment to bloom. 80. The Father's Final Choice. When Luke confronted Vader and the Emperor aboard the second Death Star, the chamber filled with a tension that felt ancient in its gravity, a culmination of choices stretching across generations. Lightning crackled from Sidious's fingertips, illuminating Vader's mask in flickering ghostly light. In that moment, he stood between two futures, one carved from obedience and fear, the other fragile and luminous, born from the love of a son who refused to surrender him to darkness. The internal struggle was silent, yet profound. Then, with a surge of clarity that washed through the Force like the first breeze after a storm, Vader acted. He lifted Sidious and cast him into the reactor's abyss, sacrificing himself to save Luke. His final breath was not mechanical, but human, a quiet exhale of a soul finally unburdened as Anakin Skywalker returned to the light. 81. Sidious Fall. The death of Emperor Palpatine felt like the collapse of a night that had lasted 1,000 years. His body vanished into a roar of energy, consumed by the power he once wielded with terrifying precision. Across the galaxy, the dark side recoiled, its currents swirling in momentary confusion as the architect of so much suffering was silenced. On the forest moon of Endor, fireworks erupted like joyful stars, echoing the liberation felt by worlds long held in fear. Yet Sidious's fall was more than a victory. It was a turning point in the balance of the Force, a moment when destiny breathed anew. The Sith, once triumphant, now teetered on the brink of extinction. And the galaxy, at long last, welcomed a dawn untouched by their shadow. 82. Balance returned. With the Emperor defeated and Anakin Skywalker restored in his final moments, the Force shifted in a way the galaxy had not felt for generations. It was as if a long-held breath had finally been released, allowing light to flow gently back into the quiet spaces once filled with shadow. Jedi across the stars, though few remained, sensed a softening in the currents, a peace settling over the galaxy like dew forming on morning grass. Even planets scarred by decades of conflict seemed to exhale, their skies clearing, their nights growing calmer. For the first time in centuries, the prophecy whispered through ancient Jedi halls felt fulfilled. The Chosen One had brought balance, not through power, but through sacrifice. And in that tender equilibrium, the universe found a rare moment of rest. 83. Ashes of the Empire. Though the Emperor had fallen, the Empire did not vanish overnight. Instead, it crumbled slowly, like a massive statue cracking under its own weight. Admirals clung to their fleets, governors clutched at slipping authority, and distant garrisons fought battles long after their cause had withered. On many worlds, stormtroopers continued their rigid patrols, not yet realizing the chain of command had dissolved above them. Among these fragments, fear gave way to confusion, then aimless desperation. In the wake of this unraveling, the rebellion, now growing into the New Republic, worked tirelessly to restore peace. Their efforts were quiet but determined, like steady hands sweeping away the remnants of a long, dark storm. And as the Empire's embers cooled, the galaxy discovered how deeply the Sith's shadow had stretched across its heart. 84. Dark Side Acolytes. Even after Sidious' death, not all who served the darkness vanished into history's silence. Scattered throughout the galaxy were acolytes, cultists, and scholars who clung to Sith teachings with fervent devotion. They gathered in hidden basements, abandoned temples, and moonlit caverns, reciting ancient codes whispered from brittle scrolls and cracked holocrons. These remnants carried the Sith legacy like a smoldering coal cupped in trembling hands, dangerous, delicate, and driven by belief rather than power. Some sought to resurrect their fallen master. Others simply yearned for the structure the Sith once offered. Though their numbers were small, their persistence revealed a truth as old as the Force itself. Darkness rarely vanishes entirely. Instead, it lingers quietly in shadows, waiting for hearts uncertain enough to welcome it once more. 85. The birth of the First Order. In the quiet decades following the Empire's collapse, the galaxy dared to hope for lasting peace. But in the hidden corners of the unknown regions, former Imperial officers, engineers, and fanatics regrouped, driven by loyalty to a vanished emperor and a dream of restored power. These remnants traveled through dangerous, uncharted space, guided by old maps and darker whispers. There, beyond the edge of familiar stars, they forged something new. The First Order, an echo of the Empire, sharper, more disciplined, and quietly fueled by the embers of Sith ideology. While the New Republic celebrated unity, the First Order gathered strength in silence, its recruiters speaking softly of order, purpose, and destiny. And in those distant frozen halls, the shadow of the Sith found a new cradle in which to rest and grow once more. 86. Snoke's Rise. Among the emerging First Order stood a mysterious figure named Snoke, tall, scarred, and deeply attuned to the dark side. His presence felt cold and vast, like a void drifting through the Force. To many, he appeared as a self-made ruler. To others, a prophet of power. But Snoke was neither fully puppet nor master. Shaped by Sith alchemy and the lingering will of Darth Sidious, he carried pieces of a legacy far older than his followers realized. Snoke guided the First Order with deliberate calm, weaving manipulation through his commands like silk threads tightening into an unseen web. His words lulled generals, inspired disciples, and ensnared those hungry for purpose. And in the quiet chambers of his throne, the dark side stirred once again, not roaring, but whispering. 87. Kylo Ren's turn. Among those whispers rose Ben Solo, a child born of legendary lineage, grandson of Anakin Skywalker, nephew of Luke Skywalker, and son of Leia Organa. From an early age, he felt the Force swell within him like a storm searching for release. Torn between expectation and fear, he sought belonging in a galaxy that saw him as symbol rather than self. Snoke sensed his turmoil and nurtured it, offering validation wrapped in dark temptation. When Ben finally surrendered to the shadow and became Kylo Ren, it was not with fury, but with sorrow. A quiet collapse of a heart overwhelmed by destiny's weight. His new mask hid not only his identity, but the fragile, conflicted boy still flickering beneath the surface. And through Kylo, the Sith legacy found a new, wounded vessel to carry its ancient hunger forward. 88. Reign of the Knights of Ren. As Kylo Ren sank deeper into the dark side, he took command of a mysterious and ancient order known as the Knights of Ren. These warriors were neither Sith nor Jedi, but wanderers of shadow, drawn to power like moths to a distant flame. They traveled with Kylo across forgotten worlds, their armor worn and their weapons humming with faint, unsettling energy. In silence, they served as his escort, his enforcers, and his reflection, a brotherhood bound not by doctrine, but by a shared reverence for the dark. Where the knights walked, a hush followed. Villages fell quiet, Forests stilled, and the Force itself seemed to dim, as though recognizing the passing of a storm long adrift from ancient origins. And through their movements, the remnants of Sith philosophy found new ways to ripple across the stars. 89. The Final Order revealed. While the First Order rose boldly across the galaxy, another power waited in the shadows, a remnant far older and far more disciplined. On the storm-shrouded world of Exegol, deep within the unknown regions, fleets of star destroyers slept beneath crackling clouds. Their hulls glistened with cold metal, each vessel silently awaiting a single command. Here, the Final Order took shape, guided by Sith loyalists who had never lost faith in their fallen emperor. Their technology, rituals, and hierarchies drew directly from ancient Sith teachings, blending mysticism with militaristic precision. Lightning illuminated titanic structures carved with crimson runes, and in their halls, whispers of devotion echoed like prayers. The galaxy knew little of Exegol, yet its hidden heartbeat pulsed with the full weight of 10,000 years of Sith ambition. 90. The Last Stand on Exegol. When the Final Order rose to strike, the galaxy trembled beneath the revelation that Darth Sidious had survived. Reborn through dark rituals, clinging to life with hatred alone. On Exegol's storm-lashed plains, lightning tore open the sky as fleets clashed overhead, and echoes of ancient Sith chants rolled through cavernous halls. Rey, last heir to the Jedi, and Ben Solo, freed from Kylo Ren's shadow, confronted the Emperor amid a tempest of swirling darkness. Their presence felt like twin lights flickering against a tidal wave of night. And in the end, it was not rage, but resolve, not hatred but harmony, that shattered Sidious's final grasp on the galaxy. His fall was a collapse of centuries, a sigh of darkness dissolving into the void, and with it, the Sith lineage crumbled, ending a chapter written across millennia of shadow. 91. Sith. Philosophy. Across millennia. Across the vast stretch of galactic history, the Sith philosophy evolved like a river, carving its quiet path through stone. Though its leaders rose and fell, its core belief remained unchanged. That passion, embraced fully, was the truest source of strength. Some Sith interpreted this as emotional liberation. Others twisted it into cruelty. Yet beneath all its expressions lay the same heartbeat, a refusal to accept limitation, a drive to reshape destiny through will alone. From Ajunta Pall to Sidious, each Sith Lord added their own verse to the long, shadowed song of the dark side. And though the Sith Order has faded into memory, its philosophy lingers like a distant echo, reminding the galaxy that belief, whether bright or dark, can endure far longer than the beings who carry it. 92. Ancient rituals remembered, scattered through forgotten temples, lost holocrons, and half-buried ruins. Remnants of ancient Sith rituals still wait beneath layers of dust and time. These ceremonies were once performed beneath roaring skies, or in cavernous halls lit by crimson flame. Some called upon spirits for guidance, others shaped storms, illusions, or beasts molded by alchemy. Even now, explorers and scholars occasionally stumble upon faded inscriptions or fractured relics, feeling a subtle shiver ripple through the Force as they approach. The rituals themselves are incomplete, fragments of a forgotten language, gestures broken by centuries of erosion. Yet each remnant carries a strange serenity, a reminder of the reverence even the Sith once held for the power they served. And in those quiet discoveries, the past breathes for just a moment before returning to the hush of forgotten ages. 93. Artifacts of shadow. Throughout millennia of Sith rule, Countless artifacts were forged, each infused with the emotions and intentions of its creator. Some were weapons, curved blades humming with hungry energy, or amulets that whispered when touched. Others were tools of meditation, ritual stones etched with ancient runes, or holocrons glowing faintly like embers in the dark. These relics scattered across the galaxy as empires crumbled and wars scorched entire systems. Many now lie hidden in vaults, tombs, and private collections, their power dormant but never gone. When held, even in silence, they seem to thrum with a distant heartbeat, the echo of a Sith Lord long returned to dust. And somewhere in that quiet vibration, the shadow of history gently stirs. 94. Worlds scarred by darkness. Across the galaxy, there are worlds whose very landscapes bear the imprint of Sith influence, like scars left by storms long past. On Korriban, red sands still whisper through ancient tomb entrances, carrying faint echoes of rituals once performed under starlit skies. Ziost remains shrouded in a cold silence, its forests and mountains holding the memory of vitiate's hunger like frost that never melts. Even planets touched briefly by Sith presence. Places like Malachor, with its shattered spires frozen in mid-collapse, carry an aura of quiet grief. These worlds feel heavy to travelers, as though the Force itself pauses in remembrance. Yet in their stillness lies a strange beauty, a reminder that even the darkest histories become part of the galaxy's tapestry, woven into the quiet hum of distant stars. 95. Jedi and Sith, eternal balance. For all their conflict, the Jedi and the Sith have always been like two currents flowing through the same endless sea. One emphasizes serenity, the other passion. One seeks harmony, the other power. Yet neither truly exists without the other. Their philosophies, though opposite, form a delicate balance that shapes the galaxy's destiny. When one rises, the other responds. When one falls, the other shifts to fill the silence. Through their long struggle, the Force ebbs and flows, guiding events with gentle, unseen hands. In this cosmic dance, neither side permanently triumphs. They merely drift through eras, reflecting the choices of countless beings. And as the stars wheel through the ages, the Force continues its eternal song of light and shadow, inviting harmony between the two. 96. The meaning of power. To the Sith, power was never just might or control. It was a deeply personal journey, shaped by desire, fear, hope, and ambition. For some, it offered freedom from the chains of their past. For others, it became a consuming fire that hollowed their hearts. The pursuit of strength revealed the truth of who they were, peeling back layers of pride and vulnerability. Yet in the stillness that followed the Sith's fall, a gentler understanding emerges. That power is most meaningful when tempered by wisdom, when shaped by intention rather than hunger. The Sith, in their rise and collapse, taught the galaxy a lesson it would carry quietly into the future. That true strength lies not in domination, but in the choices we make when offered the chance to wield it. 97. The lonely path. Throughout their long and winding history, the Sith walked a path shaped by solitude. Though they wielded immense power, their philosophy often pushed them into isolation, a quiet separation born from suspicion, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of dominance. Many Sith lived surrounded by acolytes, yet trusted no one. Their fortresses, no matter how grand, echoed with a hollowness that even the dark side could not fill. Beneath the armor, the masks, and the fire of their rituals, a profound loneliness sat like a shadow at the core of their existence. This solitude was both their strength and their downfall, for in shutting out connection, they nurtured only their own desires, never seeing how deeply they were shaped by the very emotions they sought to master. And in that quiet emptiness, the seeds of their undoing slowly took root. 98. Lessons from the Fall. When the final echoes of the Sith faded on Exegol, the galaxy was left with more than ruins and memories. It inherited lessons carved through millennia of conflict. The fall of the Sith revealed the dangers of unchecked ambition, the fragility of power built on fear, and the slow corrosion that accompanies domination. Yet it also illuminated important truths. Passion can inspire great strength, and emotion, when guided with intention, can be a source of profound clarity. The Sith showed the galaxy what happens when desire outweighs empathy, when strength replaces compassion. Their downfall became a reminder that balance requires humility, and that even the brightest light can falter when consumed by its own reflection. In their ending, the galaxy found a cautionary tale woven into the very currents of the Force. 99. The Last Echoes of Darkness. Though the Sith lineage has ended, the dark side itself remains, a natural, integral current within the Force. Its presence is not born of malice, but of contrast. Without shadow, there can be no light. Across forgotten temples and crumbling artifacts, faint impressions of Sith history linger, like distant murmurs in an empty hall. Scholars, wanderers, and Force sensitives occasionally feel a tremble in the air, a memory of something vast that once shaped the galaxy. These echoes are not threats, but reminders. That darkness, too, has a place in the grand tapestry of existence. And while the Sith no longer walk among the stars, their history remains stitched into the quiet fabric of time, resonating softly in the Force like the fading note of a long-forgotten song. 100. The Galaxy. After the Sith. With the fall of the Sith and the quieting of ancient shadows, the galaxy entered a new era, one shaped not by empires or war, but by recovery. Worlds once scarred by conflict began to heal, their skies clearing as if exhaling centuries of tension. Jedi survivors sought new beginnings, and ordinary citizens rediscovered the simple rhythms of peace. Markets reopening at dawn, children laughing beneath starlit skies, travelers crossing hyperlanes without fear. Though the dark side still flowed through the Force, it no longer carried the sharp edge of oppression. Instead, it drifted gently, balanced by the light. And as the galaxy settled into this calm, it carried with it the quiet memory of all that came before, a reminder that even the deepest night eventually yields to dawn. And as our long journey through the shadows of the Sith comes gently to an end, may you feel a sense of calm settling over your thoughts, like starlight drifting across a quiet horizon. We've walked through ancient tombs and forgotten empires, listened to the whispers of long-lost lords, and watched the dark side rise and fall like a distant tide. And now, in the stillness that follows, may the Force bring balance to your mind and peace to your dreams. If these stories helped you drift into the stars tonight, I'd be honored if you liked this video, subscribed to the channel, and shared which era of Star Wars you'd love to fall asleep to next. Whenever you're ready to keep dreaming, just tap the end screen to begin another gentle voyage. A new path through galaxies of lore and light, where the night is quiet and the Force sings softly. Rest well, traveler. The stars are watching over you, and the Force will guide your dreams.